Okay, so forgive me for not having any DAW volume. I'm going to push play real quick. Yeah, so I'm not getting any audio. Huh. No audio to my audio interface. So I'm going to shut Reaper down. I have no idea what has happened here. So of course, when I'm going to do a really important educational video, my audio interface will act up. It's connected to my computer. I can see my audio going into the computer. So forgive me for being a little delayed here, but we'll get started here soon enough. Let's go to this project and see if opening Reaper doesn't work this time. If it doesn't, I may have to stop the stream and start over, and it doesn't. My audio interface is now not communicating with my computer. This is so fucking awesome. Okay, I just heard it. So I turned the audio interface back on, and no audio device is closed. And let's go to options and preferences, and let's go to device, audio, Focusrite USB. Reaper is now no longer seeing my audio interface. You guys, I am really, really fucking sorry. But this is a now I'm gonna go out right now and tell you that you all are aware of the problem I had with a PC that I bought a year ago, that many of you donated money to me to be able to purchase. And this PC there, holy smokes. Well, there we go. Okay. So now I just discovered what I had to do. Apparently I have to disarm these to record and rearm them, and then I'll be there. Okay, so now I have audio. That was fun. Wow, I'm not sure why I had to do that, but that was very interesting. Wow. So let me hide that. All right. So hopefully everybody's doing good. I'm going to put my glasses on so I can read some of the comments. I'm gonna wait a little bit to get completely started on this interesting live stream that I'm going to do. Yeah. And I am so audio okay, bro. Hello, Salemo. Are you? That must be. Let's see, Salem. Is that Great Manzini, or is it maybe Falcro on his second secret YouTube channel? Maybe. Kevin, what's happening? All right. Hey, you guys, I apologize about that audio issue. I don't know what was going on with that. I've been running this computer trying to get it to work properly, and it's been a total nightmare. And Kevin, real quick, and I'm not going to get started right this minute, but I want to do this. Just real quick. You just sent me a text this morning, and I appreciate that, man. Here is, let's see, I'm using the Petrucci plugin, and look at that. I'm transposed down to -4. So we could play some Motley Crue and let's see. There we go, some low Motley Crue. In C even. Yeah, so there, I love this transpose function. It's really super cool, and it's nice to be able to transpose your guitar with the click of a switch. And you know, if we wanted to play in the key of B flat, we just capo up to the 3rd fret, right? And then we'd play in G. And I'm going to change my amp to a cleaner tone. Let's go to this one. Should be. So now we can play. Oh, and I think. What do I have going on here? Oh, my microphone is picking up my guitar. I got to make sure that I can't. Okay. Now you're hearing my guitar. Let me see, what do I have going on here? And forgive me, you guys, I'm working out a little bit of some technical stuff while I'm doing this. So not only am I going to help maybe some understanding of some music theory stuff, I'm going to do my best to help get my guitar sounding right. So I'm going to turn this up to 26. So it's totally, there we go. And I'm going to crush this a bit more. Let's get that. Yeah, there we go. That's a bit better. All right. So I'm going to use a nice clean tone today. I'm going to turn some delay off. I'll leave a little bit of reverb on it, so we'll have a nice. And I'll tune my guitar back to standard pitch. So, right, it's just a little touch of reverb, right? All right. Yeah. So I've got a compressor on my voice that my guitar is triggering to keep my microphone from picking up the noise from my pickups. So let's go back to here. Again, so I hope everybody's doing good today. Let me fix this camera. There we go. That should be good. So you'll be able to see my guitar neck and what I'm doing. And we're going to go over some pictures today. I'm going to show these to you real quick, I think. There we go. So I've got these scale patterns drawn out. And I'm doing these in the order that modes happen. And some of them I did not draw all the finger numbers in just because I forgot, which I do once in a while, but we'll live these shortly. So today we're going to be talking a bit about what I like to call is putting a name with the face. And let me fix this camera because it's a little bit dark. So give me a second here. Yeah, so it just automatically goes back to anytime you close Reaper. Let's see, is that gonna, yeah. Anytime you close OBS and open it back up, it seems like it just automatically goes to the settings that it is. Let me go to camera control. Yeah, it's already. I've already adjusted this camera to be precise, but it goes back. When you shut down OBS and then reopen it, OBS doesn't save the settings that you've saved for your camera. It sets them back to their automatic default settings, which I haven't figured out. And this is, again, I'm kind of bitching, but I haven't figured out how to make the default what I tell it to be. So
I'm going to bring the exposure up a little bit. Yeah, there we go. So maybe we can get a little better video. That's a little bit too much. And then we're going to go to sharpness. I'm going to bring this back up to where I had it the other day, and apply all that stuff. And see, it won't do this the next time I turn this program on. So I'll have to change this every single time I open up OBS. I can't figure out how to make it do what I want it to do. So it's there's probably a way to do it, but you probably have to. It'd be great if I could buy OBS. So there you go. VST Petrucci sounds like a bad horsey. Yeah. Distortion VST Petrucci sounds like bad horsey Steve Vai. Well, I would have to agree with you. I really love the Petrucci plugin. It's the one that I've been going to, and let's see. So here's my Petrucci plugin, and I use it constantly. And another one that I'm really digging is the Plini plugin, which really has a nice sound to it. I own a few of these, and they do have a. So this is Plini. All right, we'll turn off all the delay and such. One thing I don't like about this Plini plugin is that it's got this big, bright screen, and I cannot, for the life of me, figure out how to make it dark. When it's dark in my room and I'm playing, I don't want this big, bright, white light coming off of my monitor. So, and they changed the way the interface looks, so the tuner button is not like what Petrucci is. You know, they got these, and the background of it is darker. You know, it's kind of sad that they have to change stuff like that for whatever reason. Kind of a bummer. And Rebay is also another one that's got kind of a nice dark background to it, which I really enjoy. But we'll be using the Petrucci plugin today. And let's see what kind of tuning how in tune my Strat is today. So it was out slightly. Turn the gain down on that mic a little bit, and I'm gonna undo that compressor. It's a little bit strong. We want it to release very quickly, and we want it to attack. I'm gonna lower the amount of compression. See, yeah, that's quite a bit better. So forgive me for doing all this stuff while I'm in this live stream. So we can go ahead and get started. And thanks for hitting the like button. I appreciate that. Any interaction you have on your YouTube channel is good. Even if somebody says they don't like your video, that still counts as interaction, and it's basically as good as like. So you can hit the thumbs down or the thumbs up, and it still potentially can help my channel. So let's take a look, and I want to preface this by saying I was approached by a very, very good friend of mine who is a member of my channel. My goodness, that's cool. Thank you very much. My friend Bill, who I heard play when I was in my mommy's tummy. he was playing rock and roll in our backyard. And I think he's a big reason why I decided to play music and try to be a musician for a living. So thank you very much for that. But he approached me. I was playing the other night in a live stream, and I was playing a guitar solo over a backing track, but the people watching on YouTube couldn't hear the backing track. All they could hear was my guitar. And the backing track happened to be one using the Phrygian mode. And all they could hear was my guitar. And he was like, wow, that was really cool. It was kind of a bummer that we couldn't hear the backing track, but listening to you play, you could I'm imagining, he didn't say this, but I'm imagining that he could probably hear the chord progression. Or in his mind, the man has one of the best trained ears you could possibly have. It was interesting for him to make that comment to me and ask me to try to do that again. And so I'm going to try and do that again today, and I will be able to. But what I first want to talk about a little bit are these patterns that this is how I learned to know my modes. And we're going to start off with one name of a mode, and that is Ionian, the Ionian mode. It's the major scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Right? We've all heard that, the sound of music, right? That scale is how the intervals of all other modes are named. Minor sixes, minor sevenths, dominant sevenths, flatted sixes. That all means the same thing. A dominant seventh is a flatted seventh, and it is a minor seventh. I try to call it a dominant seventh to avoid any confusion, because if you say minor seventh, somebody might get confused and think you're talking about a chord, a minor seventh chord, right? That's not. This is the minor seventh of G, the key of G, which that note is F, right? So minor sixth, here's major sixth. A minor sixth would be that, or a flatted sixth. I prefer to use the term flatted, augmented, or dominant when I'm talking about minor intervals, simply to prevent any confusion if somebody might perceive what you said as a chord. If you say it's a flatted sixth, there's a chord like a G major add flat six. Well, okay. So there's a G major with an added flat six in it. Can you see what I did there? There's a G major, and the major sixth of E would be that, but we're gonna flat it and add it to the chord. So now we can call this a G major add six, or flatted six, add a flatted six. So I like to use that stuff versus a minor sixth or a minor seventh or a minor ninth or that sort of thing. It's a flatted ninth or a flatted second. It avoids any confusion, but all of them mean the same thing. So I think we all know that. Hello, Preston. Okay, so having said all of that, all of the modes in the harmonized major scale, meaning, and we'll cover that real quick. I'm going to do most of my stuff I'm going to do in the key of G to start with. So the harmonized major scale, major chord, minor chord, minor chord, major chord, major chord, minor chord, half diminished chord, major chord. Now, if we want to do triads, major triad, minor triad, minor triad, major triad, major triad, minor triad, diminished, not half diminished triad, major triad. So there's the harmonized major scale. All of the modes are based on that major scale. The Ionian mode, it's named the Ionian mode. So let's take a look at this And here's the Ionian mode, and this is how, this is the textbook version of the Ionian mode, okay? And we'll call it the textbook version because let me add myself to this. Oops, I'm going to get myself out of the way of this photograph. I want to keep myself in the picture a little bit, so you don't feel like I'm ignoring or not in the show. The Ionian mode and the numbers I have written down here. And many of you have probably played this scale in the exact same fashion. This is exactly what I played. I'm going to play this. The numbers are your finger numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4. We all know that stuff. If you're watching this live stream, you probably already have a fairly good grasp of playing guitar, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So those numbers mean the number that you would use to play those notes. So having said that, we'll look at this. Now, before I go any further, these are the two ways that I've learned to call scale patterns. And these are just simple patterns. E position and A position. And what does that mean? E position means that the root note of the scale that you're playing is on the bass E string, or the low E string. And an A position scale is the bass note of your, or the root note of your scale is on the A string. Now that doesn't mean that that's the lowest note that you can play in that scale at all. But, you know, if I were talking about a G position Ionian mode, we'll go back to the photo and I'm going to play it here. Right? My root note being on the E string. If I'm going to play an A position, the pattern that you see on the screen, A position Ionian mode, and I want to play it in G, I need to know my root note of G here on the A string. Same. All the notes have the same name. They're just played in a different register on your fingerboard, right? Now, there are also D positions. You know, if you wanted to play a D position G major scale. Sorry, I missed a note there. I'm a little out of practice with that one. I don't use it very often. So, E position and A position. Now, this is, again, this Ionian mode is where all the other modes get their interval names. The E position or A position, the Ionian mode, has a root note, a major second, a major third, major fourth, perfect fourth, we'll say, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh, and an octave. Okay? That's just the basic fundamental. In the key of C, it's C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Those are the different notes. So this is how you can go about starting to learn modes outside of the major scale. Now, the patterns. Now, this is one pattern that I have drawn up here in this photograph. You can see it right there. This is how 99%, I would guess, of students learn to play, or beginning players learn to play this mode. And Bill, I know you know this already, but I'm gonna show you an example. Here's the position that I just showed you, right? And the other thing is, when you're practicing modes, don't just play them ascending. Play them both ascending and descending. And I don't practice just play, but make sure. Don't forget to come back down. So many times a practicing or a learning musician will learn it ascending and they can't play it backwards. It's something I demand from all of my students. So remember to go backwards on that, because guitar solos don't just go one direction, right? It's a very important thing. So you need to be fluid both directions. Now, that's a little technique hint. Okay, so E position, G major scale. Right? Okay, now let's move on to the second mode of the major scale. And I'm going to add my camera into here. Let me go to video input capture, and let's go cam 2. Okay. And I'm going to shrink this window down so you can see this. So here, the second mode of the harmonized major scale is the Dorian mode. Now you can watch Rick Beato's channel and you'll get all of this information, but he may not teach it exactly like I do. Now, where I was going with this, and I got a little distracted about the pattern. Again, this is the textbook pattern. This is where 99% of the guitar teachers out there will teach a student to play it with this fingering, right? What you're seeing right there. And I'll play it in the E position, G Dorian mode. Being able to play it in both directions. Now, if we look at this drawing, and you can put the Ionian mode and the Dorian mode together next to one another in a book, what you're going to notice is that the patterns are very similar. They just have ultimately different notes in them. So having said that, the Dorian mode has a minor third. The only difference between the Dorian mode and the Ionian mode is if you look at the root note of the E position G Dorian mode, and keep in mind that these pages are upside down. This is it's a little bit easier for our brains to comprehend what I've got drawn out here. We're not going from the top of the page down. We're going, or the top of the fingerboard down. We're going from the bottom of that photo up. I hope that makes sense. Most people have seen these. This is the type of paper that I use. It's easier for our brains to comprehend that. If we look at that, the 1 is the same tonic that is in the Ionian mode in the key of G, that first number. The 3, which is your third finger, which is the second note of the scale, is the exact same note that's in the major scale or the Ionian mode. The 4, the third note of the scale, which would be played with your pinky, is a minor third instead of a major third. If we go back to the Ionian mode, right? 1, or the fingerings are different, but we start the Ionian mode with our second finger, middle finger, and then we play the second note with our fourth finger, the third note with our pointer finger. We go to the Dorian mode. Now we have a different looking scale pattern. You see the differences? Okay, there's the Ionian mode, the major scale. There's the Dorian mode, the second mode of the major scale. And I'm going to do these in order of the harmonized major scale. So here we have in this Dorian mode, in comparison to the Ionian mode, again, the only 2 notes that are different are the third and the seventh. In the Dorian mode, we have a minor third and a dominant seventh, or a minor seventh, or a flatted seventh. We call it a lot of different things. In the Ionian mode, we have a major third and a major seventh, okay? So very simple kind of a concept here. Now, let's talk about this, just the Ionian mode and the Dorian mode in relationship to using them in improvisation. Okay, this is where my respect for classical musicians kind of dies. I respect the fact that they can sight read a piece of music and play at tempos that are beyond imagination because they've worked so hard on their technique. But Bill and I had a conversation about this today, where he asked a cellist who played for a well-known symphony, I believe, or a high school symphony, if she could come in and improvise some cello parts. And her response was, "No, I need you to write it out." Okay, so are you an actual musician because you can read a piece of newspaper? I'm not saying you're not. I'm just saying, but if you can't improvise, your personality is lost in a piece of sheet music. I can't play Beethoven's Fifth Symphony on my guitar, but if I had the opportunity to listen to it, I could certainly memorize it and play it without a piece of sheet music. So I don't want anyone to think that I don't respect people that play classical music or that read jazz charts. I mean, some of the greatest musicians in the world are easily capable of doing that, but they're also capable of improvisation, which is where this conversation and this lesson totally stemmed from. So I think it's important to put into practical application these scales that you've learned. Yeah, you can play this scale, but can you solo with it? Can you improvise with it? Can you write a melody with it? The Ionian and the Dorian mode, okay? So let's just go to the Ionian mode, and I'm gonna start off, well, that's not true, Preston. You do improvise quite often on your show, and you don't even realize it. I hear you do it noodling around on your guitar, and you're improvising in that moment. If there was a killer chord progression going behind you and you played that lick, it would be epic, right? So, but again, I say that about class. I can't read a piece of, not that I can't read a piece of sheet music, but if you were to set a piece of sheet music in front of me and ask me to play that piece, it's going to take me a few days to learn that piece, and I would ultimately have to memorize it. And that's ultimately how many classical musicians that play, not many, but lots of them memorize a piece of music by playing. I have a guitar student who is just fantastic, amazing. He smokes my ass, but he doesn't know what I know. He doesn't know this, but he has worked on some pieces of piano that are some of the most complex and difficult pieces that anybody can play. And he can play them. He can sit down at my keyboard right here and play them from memory. So having said all of that, I want to lead by example here, and I'm going to open up a backing track, and I'm going to push play. Let me see, and I want to let me show you. I'm going to share my Reaper project with you, but I'm going to bring this so A major, which is ultimately, if you start talking in a theory manner, you would call it A Ionian, right? If you start calling keys, if you start speaking the language of modes, your brain will start to think that way. And Ionian is a little less defined than major, because major can mean a lot of things. It can mean a rank in the Army or the police, or I don't know, the Marines maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not very fluid with that. It could mean this is a major deal. I'll use it as an example. So I'm going to call this A Ionian, and I'm also going to go here and show you real quick. Here's our G Ionian, our root note being on the 3rd fret, right? And you can see the G major chord that most of us play. This number 2, I wish you could see my mouse. I can't show you my mouse, but this number, the 2, the 1, and then the 2 and 2 up at the top, that's a G major chord. It's drawn out right there in the picture. Okay, so I'm going to use this over, but let me go back. But I'm going to move this root note on the 3rd fret. I'm just simply going to shift that up to the 5th fret. which I know that that note's name is A, and I know that if I play that exact E position, G Ionian pattern, moving it up 2 frets, now I'm playing an A. Now I know this is basic fundamental stuff, but for some people, this might be a good way for the this concept to be memorized, or maybe better understood. Okay, so I'm going to push play, and I'm going to play along with this using the Ionian mode, and I'm going to try and stay in this 1-1, right? Now, I was told that it was kind of interesting to listen to me do this without the audience. Bill found it very interesting. Now, the major scale sounds like a fucking scale. Forgive the French, but it really does. It sounds like you're playing a scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, right? I'm gonna mute this backing track and solo along with it. So now I'm going to switch to the A position. We've got these 2 different scales in the Dorian or in the Ionian mode. Got this A position. Now this scale is noted as C Ionian, or the C major scale. So our root note here on the A string, that number 2 on the second line up from the bottom, that's our C note on the A string. Well, where's our A note? Because this song is in the key of A. Where's our A note on the A string? And this is stuff that you have to know in the blink of an eye, right? So I know that my A note is right there on my A string. It's also right there. Right? So now I'm just knowing these 2 different patterns. I've just extended the scale of the neck, or the register that I can play in. don't forget to change your pickups. Okay, so we'll stop this one at this point, I think. All right, so a little bit of example of doing it with and without the backing track, but once you have this scale pattern memorized and are able to play through it ascending and descending, you can really create a lot of melody in your solos. And which is what I try and do. I'm not a real fast guitar player, so that's my goal, is to always be as melodic as I can by using intervals. The major third is always a good one. And then also finding dissonance in the Rick Beato version, which I've known long before I ever heard of Rick Beato. I knew this shit when I was 15. My guitar and teacher back in 1985 was telling me the major scale has this really cool interval between the third and the fourth and the seventh. Right? Try to use that. And then the key of A, it'd be D and C sharp. I'm sorry, D and G sharp. Right? Okay, so that was Ionian. Okay, so I'm hoping that, and Bill, I don't know if I'm hitting the right, or if I'm offering you help that might help with that. And I don't know if I need any feedback or not, but I'm just curious if I'm doing okay. Let me see. I want to let me change the properties of this. Yeah, we got this. This stuff all set to so the focus isn't correct on this camera. I'm making some adjustments, hoping that I might hear back from my good friend. There we go. That's a little better. Let's turn the low light compensation off. Apply. And let's change this to a little bit higher. And there we go. I got a little bit more real color. I'm going to turn the gain up on my camera a bit. No, I'm not. Okay, so that's what that's all about. Ooh. Okay, so we'll apply that. Yep. Did I? Come on. Forgive me for taking a little time to try and make my video better. I'm still learning. That's my camera control. Okay. Let's take that exposure down to 5. And then I'll be right back with you guys. We'll bring the gain up. There we go. That's looking a little bit better. So the white balance was where I got some color in this. Come on. Come on. There we go. I'm going to apply that. Okay. Okay. Appreciate that. So that was the Dorian mode. And let me okay this. So we're going to go back to this main view, and let me make another small adjustment to my video settings. I'm going to go to my camera control. I'm going to back that down, and then I'm going to gain this up a little bit. Yeah, and then I'm going to take the sharpness and back this down just a bit. Yeah, there we go. Should be looking okay now. Okay, so we've covered the Ionian mode. It's the most boring mode in the world. It's the major scale. They're all important. They're all important. But let's move on to doing the same example using the Dorian mode. And if I said the Dorian mode when I was talking about the Ionian mode, forgive me. These words are very complicated. One cool thing about the modes is that they have these really cool Latin names that are very memorable. I have a friend named Dorian, and he spells it exactly like it's spelled on this photograph here. Literally, I met him in high school. His name was Dorian. I don't know. His parents must have known something. He was a drummer, and the dude was fantastic. So again, the Dorian mode is simply the Ionian mode with a flatted sixth. I'm sorry. Forgive me. That was incorrect. A flatted third and a flatted seventh. It's literally the major scale with a flatted third and a flatted seventh. So I'm going to play this once real quickly for you. You can look at these two patterns, and what you can do if you want to memorize these patterns, what you could do is you just go back and pause the photographs that I've posted up here and take a screenshot of them, or you can. These are available all over the internet. But this is my method of teaching these scale patterns, because if you memorize these scale patterns, you memorize your root notes, you are easily on your way to becoming a very fluid mode user when it comes to playing guitar solos or writing chord progressions, things like that. Now, chordal, using theory as a chordal, in a chordal application to write chord progressions, let's say I want to write a chord progression in the Dorian mode. That's a whole other school. Well, not really, but it's very closely tied with the scales. However, we're not going to get into that today. I don't want to get too involved with that sort of thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up another backing track in YouTube, and I'm going to do a search. This is how you can practice. This is one of the best, and we all know this, but this is a great way to understand how these modes work while you're soloing. All right. And Rick Beato's live right now, by the way. So, I know I'm this little teeny music channel, and Rick's covered all of this stuff in many of his videos, but I challenge you to go find it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is type in Dorian. Let me spell it right. Dorian mode backing track. And I know you can hear me typing. I'm okay with that. Dorian mode backing track. And let's see. There's an A. I don't want to do A Dorian. I want to pick a different key just to lead by example. It's G Dorian. I want to get away from that. Let's use a D Dorian backing track. And again, I'm gonna let the track play. Let's open this up. So you should hear it. And let's see. This is from Tom's backing tracks. And it's called D Dorian guitar backing track. All right, so now we're in D Dorian. So we've got our Dorian pattern in G, right? But we need, that's our G Dorian. Isn't that D on our E string, right? So we can solo to this using our pattern that we've now memorized. Okay, so I'm gonna change my guitar tone. Quentin, dude, good to see you, brother. You guys be sure to go sub to Quentin James. That dude is he's friggin' hilarious. Okay, so I'm gonna have a little bit more overdrive. Okay, I'm a little loud right there. I'm making a little adjustment to my where's my master volume? There we go. So that was okay. There we go. So D Dorian. Right? Okay. I want to stop this one, I think. Where are we? And again, this backing track is from Tom's Backing Tracks. He's got a little over 3,000 subscribers, so go check him out. He's got some pretty cool stuff. But there again is using the Dorian mode to solo over a chord progression. Now, having said that, didn't we cover earlier that the Dorian mode in D has the exact same notes as the Ionian mode in what key? How do you tie these two together? If G is the Ionian mode and the second note of G is A is the Dorian mode, let's do a little bit of comparison here. We've got D would be the Dorian mode of, I'm challenging folks. I'm hoping somebody can answer this question accurately. I don't know who else watching and what kind of educations we have here, but the Dorian mode of D is the Dorian mode of what Ionian mode? That's my question that I'll pose to you. And I'll wait. We might be here a while. Because the thing is, if you can tie these modes together, you can, while playing in the Dorian mode, you can play the exact same notes and use the Ionian mode. or any other mode that that mode fits in. Remember, we talked about the harmonized major scale earlier. The Dorian mode being the second mode of the harmonized major scale. So the Dorian mode being in D would make it what Ionian mode? Are we confused yet? Is this way too complicated? And, you know, I'm trying to have a little bit of sense of humor. Steely Dan. That's cool. I'm going to turn some delay on and tap a tempo into this. Let's see, is that sync? Yeah, we want to sync it, and I think I can tap my tempo in here. Is that correct? Yeah, I certainly can. Okay, so I don't know if nobody knows this, but I'm going to go ahead and answer my own question. If you're soloing in the key, you get a backing track that's, in particular, this one is D Dorian. Right? Let's pull up the D Dorian backing track one more time. Here's D Dorian. All right. D Dorian is, let me play the scale one time for you. It's C major. And I'll show you what I'm doing there in a close-up. D Dorian. The pattern that I showed you earlier, we'll look at the pattern. Here it is. Here's the pattern. I'm using this pattern starting up at the 10th fret, right? And I know that D Dorian is C Ionian because Dorian mode is the second mode of the major scale, and all of the notes inside the Dorian mode of G, which would be A Dorian, are the same as in the G major scale. So let's look at this again. Let's look at this again. I'm gonna start this backing track over, and I'm gonna start using the D Dorian pattern, but I'm gonna shift to the C Ionian pattern. This is how we're able to tie the guitar neck together and not miss notes. You know the Ionian scale, and you know the Dorian scale pattern. It's a stamp on your fingerboard. Stamp, let me turn my volume on. It's a stamp on the fingerboard, ultimately. You can move it anywhere, and you're just playing in a different key, right? So let's try this again. So we're in D Dorian, right? So I'm in D Dorian right now. Now I'm in C Ionian. Play C Ionian again. The A position. Now I'm in D Dorian again. Another cool thing is I want to touch on just very quickly. So now I was using the C Ionian mode to solo in a D Dorian backing track. Right? So now I've got two patterns that I have that I've memorized. I memorized these patterns from a young age. So I was using this pattern, the Ionian mode, which in C is D Dorian. All right. Oh God, now we're really confused. But I was using both the E position scale pattern and the A position scale pattern. I was also using the Dorian pattern. You play that pattern, either one of those patterns on any fret, just follow the exact note patterns. All you do when you change that fret is change the key or the name of the Dorian mode. If you're starting on the 3rd fret on the A position Dorian mode, you're playing in C Dorian. If you move it up a half step, move it up to the 4th fret, now you're playing in C sharp Dorian. I'm hoping that this is making sense, and I'm sure that it does. Let's see, is it Tommy? Wait. Trevor. No, doggone it, your name starts with a T. Tim, that's Timothy, sorry. Okay, and that was a very good point. Yes, it is hard to teach. And you really, what I'm pointing out is improvising. You can learn these patterns and know them intimately, inside and out. But that doesn't mean you can improvise using them. There's a lot of technique involved in improvisation, and that's what I'm hoping, because Bill, who started this conversation with me yesterday or a couple days ago, and I'm telling you guys, this dude, Bill, sitting in the chat, is one of the best guitar players any of you might ever meet, and I ain't kidding. That dude is incredible. Hello, Mark. I'm sorry, I missed seeing you there. But he was asking about, I know some of the names, but I'm not sure necessarily how to use them, and I don't necessarily. He didn't say these things, but what I'm gathering is that he didn't really know when he's soloing to something, and his ear is so well trained. And we talked about this morning, that his finger knows to go a half step. His ear knows before he hits a note that if he moves it a full step, it's going to be a bad note. But he doesn't know necessarily what that scale is called. Thus, why there are so many fantastic lead guitarists who could give one rat's ass about knowing any of this stuff, about having any of this stuff in their mind. Okay, now I'm in D Dorian, so now I can play in C Mixolydian, which means I can play in A Aeolian. I'm in D Dorian, which means I can play in C Ionian, which means I can play in A Aeolian, which means I can play in B Phrygian. And I'm just tying you can use any of those patterns to stay in the same key and put your fingers in a different position on the neck. You might play C Dorian starting here, right? And you're going to get a certain sound out of your guitar. But if you start here, these notes are all going to have a different sound. So there's very important things with respect to an instrument like a guitar. A middle C note on a trumpet is not on a different string on a different fret. It's going to sound like a middle C at that moment, regardless of what that trumpet player can do, aside from the fact that he can attack the note, blow a little harder, maybe throw a little vibrato on it. But on a guitar, they have different personalities. Okay, cool. Yeah, well, he copied. He's the guy that actually said that was the blue guy. I can't remember, a jazz player. Yeah, yeah. Victor, what was his name? The famous jazz trumpet player. Kind of a hard guy to deal with, but magical. Anyway, yeah, Victor copied him. Play the bad note, play it twice, play it 3 times. I got to see Victor. I got to meet him. He was a very cool person. And I did ask him a few questions about teaching, which is I'm implementing some of the answers that he gave me. Yeah. So again, let's go back to, so we've covered the Ionian mode and the Dorian mode, right? So what's next? Well, in order, I'm going to have to make a little adjustment to my video here. The Phrygian mode is the next mode in the harmonized major scale in order. And we're going to do this real quick. I think that'll work. And you get my ugly mug one more time. We'll get that out of the way. The Phrygian mode. It's the 3rd scale in the harmonized major scale. And in relationship to the intervals of that we would talk about in the Ionian mode, meaning there are no flatted notes. It's a major 2nd, major 3rd, perfect 4th, perfect 5th, major 6th, major 7th octave. The Phrygian mode has a flatted 2nd, a flatted 3rd, a perfect 4th, a perfect 5th, a flatted 6th, a flatted 7th, and an 8th. Marsalis. Wynton Marsalis. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the Phrygian mode. Now this is what the mode that I was using the other night. That Bill was listening to me solo and he could not hear the backing track. And the Phrygian mode's kind of a cool one because it's typically used in death metal and dark metal, and Slayer made a living playing chord progressions in the Phrygian mode. And who else? Metallica has written 18 trillion songs using the Phrygian mode, and so has every other death metal band in the world. So it's often used in heavy metal, you know. Right? Now that's power chords. There's no harmonized chords. But let's go to back to our YouTube track, and I'm going to do a Phrygian mode backing track, and we'll try this once again. We'll play the mode. Whoops, Phrygian mode backing track. Sorry, you can hear me typing. I know that C Phrygian. That's E Phrygian. A Phrygian. What key should I do it in? I don't want to use one of his. E Phrygian dominant. Phrygian dominant is different than the Phrygian mode. Let's go to G Phrygian since I have the scale posted on the screen. We're going to see what this sounds like. So this kid's going to play a little bit of a solo, and this is Quist, the G Phrygian Blues Jam, sexy guitar backing track. He's going to solo for you using the classic death metal. Now, keep in mind that this is a minor scale, has a minor 3rd in it, so it's got a kind of a dark sound. And the 2 chords that he's using in this are G minor to A flat major, You could call it G sharp major 7th, right? So I'm going to stay in G, right? I'm going to get back to, okay. Now, I'm simply using this E position pattern, the E position G Phrygian mode, literally exactly like I have it drawn out right here. I just changed modes on you. Okay. Phrygian, kind of an interesting mode. And, you know, the bummer is that in many cases, the backing tracks, unfortunately, on YouTube are bare of a lot of chords. There aren't, they don't use many other chords than the total dominant whatever chords that are in these modes. But you know, so it's unfortunate that you don't get, but these are perfect for working with these modes and memorizing these patterns. So we've gone through Ionian, Dorian, and Phrygian thus far today. And then in order, that's the order that the harmonized major scale works in. Yeah, and I think I'd have to listen to it again, but if I'm not mistaken, the tune that I heard last night was it's a secret. I think the tune that I heard last night might have actually been the Phrygian mode. We're brothers. Yeah, I agree, Bill, and probably, and this is interesting because this is kind of getting a little more personal, but not very personal. Bill presented this idea to me that when he heard me soloing using the Phrygian mode the other night, he was like, "Man, it just sounds so different than stuff I would do." And my comment to that is that Bill he's a generation ahead of me, maybe 2 generations almost. He's a generation at least ahead of me. And so a lot of the music that when he was cutting his teeth on his guitar, was music that was jazz or bebop or country. And then, of course, definitely rock and roll that happened. But almost all of that during those times was based on the pentatonic scale. And trust me on this one, that dude can play blues scales and licks that nobody can play, and nobody can play like him. But I think stylistically, this dark Phrygian mode is a very dark mode, and you're not going to hear a lot of Americana or blues music use that mode. Now, the thing that we have to keep in mind is that the Phrygian mode is not just the Phrygian mode. It's all the other modes. You can use the Phrygian pattern to play in an Ionian mode for that matter. But nonetheless, and I know that's like for a lot of folks to say that, G Phrygian is ultimately D major. I'm sorry, forgive me, I just misspoke. It's D sharp major. No, it's not. What is the major scale of G Phrygian? It's the third. No, it's geez. Forgive me. I'm batting a fucking swing and a miss. I don't use Phrygian very much. Didn't write it, but I think it may have inspired it when talking about the mode with Greg. Yeah, let me listen to that real quick. I'm going to turn my desktop audio off so nobody else will be able to hear this. And that's another thing is that when you learn your modes and you know what they sound like, you can listen to chord progressions and recognize a mode that's being used very easily. It's very helpful for me. Yeah. Okay, hang on here. I'm listening. %. Oops, let me stop this. Sorry. Yeah. 100% Phrygian. 100%, brother. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. So yeah, that progression. Many vibes, ready to take notes. Welcome, my friend. Boy, you're going to have to rewind. We've covered a lot of shit so far, brother. Covered a lot. Many vibes, welcome. Yeah, very cool riff, by the way. Let's see. Right, and so let's moving forward. We've covered again the Ionian mode. Take a picture, screenshot. There you go. The Dorian mode. Take a picture, and the Phrygian mode. Thus far, this is what we've covered. And if you want to memorize these patterns, these are only patterns, and there's a multitude of ways to play those. There's many, many different ways to play the patterns on here. So moving on, the next mode in the harmonized major scale, and we're only going to cover 4 of them today, and there's 3 left, is the Lydian mode. One of Steve Vai and Joe Satriani's most favorite modes. Right? This guy's Flying in a Blue Dream, entirely Lydian. Oops. Well, not entirely. It did change modes, but let's make it this one, and we'll go. Okay. I'm sorry. So here's our Lydian mode, and again, when the way I have these drawn out, you'll notice it's E position Lydian mode, and I've drawn it out in G. So this note starting at the 3rd fret. I shouldn't have cropped this picture so much so you could see the nut. And again, these are upside down. The top line is the treble E string. The bottom line is the bass E string. Not today. We're not doing any exotic modes. Although Phrygian dominant is Phrygian dominant is a very cool mode. I'm not going to cover that one today. We're not doing any exotic modes. Phrygian dominant is what a lot of folks may call the Hindu mode or the Indian mode or the Kush mode, things like that. I love the Phrygian dominant mode. That's a fun one. Now we're going to cover the Lydian mode. And again, I'm just going to lead by example. So the Lydian mode in the key of G. Let me untranspose my guitar, and we're going to switch amp models, and we're going to turn the delay and the fucking reverb off. So now we're nice and stupid clean, so we sound like I'm playing jazz, right? Lydian mode. It almost sounds like it's not finished. Oops. Lydian mode has that beautiful augmented fourth. That's in the E position again, E position Lydian mode. This is how 99% of instructors would. And there's a G Lydian chord. Right? And the A position Lydian mode. And the Lydian mode it's the exact it's the exact same scale as the Ionian mode. It just has a sharp 4. It does not have a flat 5. Be careful about that. But there's a reason for that, and we'll talk about that some other time. That's not that important, but you do want to call it an augmented 4th, not a flatted 5th, because it has a natural 5 in it. So the 5th is already spoken for, right? There's your Lydian chord. Beautiful sounding chords, right? Have a very scary chlamydia, right? That's a thing of the past, right? You definitely 69 owes Bill something. Or wait, Bill owes 1969 something. Right, buddy? The Summer of Love. He was down in Berkeley, just banging women left and right. Man, that would have been fun. You know, the 90s wouldn't have been too bad either if I hadn't got somebody pregnant, man. There you go. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So the Lydian mode is another one that has some beautiful sounds in it. And what I'm going to do is just lead by example again. And I'm going to find us a Lydian backing track. Let's see. Oh, we got to open a new window. Hang on just a second. I'm dragging here. Let's, there you are. Okay, let's bring you down here. And we're going to go to YouTube. And we're going to go, I unfortunately closed, so we got Phrygian. Let me do that. And I'm going to type in Lydian. Lydian. And now one cool thing about learning modes and giving them names like they've been given, right? The names are very memorable because they're Latin. So they have very interesting names, and they're very easy to remember. There are not many times you would say Lydian, right? In common conversation, unless you're talking to another musician who knows this shit, right? Or you might be joking about it, say, fuck Lydian, I don't know anything about it. I just play the blues scale. Well, okay, that's cool. Let's see. Let's use let's see Lydian mode backing track. I'm going to grab another one by, no, that's A. I don't want to play an A. I wish somebody would put something in like B flat. F Lydian mode. There we go. That's a pretty good. Let me see. I'm trying to think of how to transpose it. So F Lydian would be B flat major, correct? No. F Lydian would be C major. Oh boy. Okay. Let's go ahead and I'm going to grab this is one of my favorite guys, YouTube jam tracks, YT jam tracks. This is called Dreamy Chill Groove Backing Track in C Lydian. Right? You guys have probably heard me solo to this one. Here's the track. So it's a keyboard, right? I'm going to go to my guitar amp. Okay, so we're in C Lydian. Okay. Okay, so remember to change your pickups also when you're soloing. Okay. Oops, I hit a perfect fourth instead of an augmented fourth. Lydian's beautiful. That's enough Lydian. That's 5 minutes of Lydian, I believe. We'll shut that off. And I want to give a huge thank you to there's a YT Jam Tracks. That one's called Dreamy Chill Groove backing track and C Lydian. Let me put that one up in the let me copy that. Lydian is a very, very cool mode. It's a fun one. So there's the backing track. Yeah, isn't that cool, Bill? I kind of did that on that one on purpose. I just started playing with the track muted to try and give you a little taste of what I did the other night, which was pretty cool. It was fun, and I didn't even realize it sounded so crazy good right here, and I'm playing along with the backing track, and nobody could hear it except for me. Now, something I would like to do with some folks, and Mark and I have already talked about it, and we may try this at some point. I've done it with my good friend Richard. But what I would love to do is have a couple of us, it doesn't matter who it is, and it doesn't matter if you think you know how to solo or improvise or not. That's not that important. This is how you learn. You learn by playing with people. I'll say this very carefully, but you learn by playing with people who are better than you. I played with Smilin' Bill, and I got better by doing that. And when I was 10 years old listening to him play in a rock band, if you have any question as to why I can play like I play today, that's a big reason why. But what I would like to do is do some StreamYard projects with two of us on yeah, we've covered a lot today, Bill. But I think I've done it pretty effectively, going through each mode and using each mode in an example of improvising using that mode. What I haven't really covered is the best way, or what I find is the best way to memorize this stuff. And some of our memories don't work as good as others. However, where I was going with that is it'd be cool to do some StreamYard meetings with two of us. And Richard and I have done it, and it was really cool. And I think it attracted a lot of attention because people got to see me play a solo over a backing track, and we keep the backing tracks down about 2.5 minutes long. We're not soloing for 10 minutes straight. There's not much worse than listening to somebody sit there and play scales over the same chord progression for 10 fucking minutes. Forgive me, but that's just boring. If you're at home doing that, knock yourself out. I do it all the time. But on a YouTube live stream where, we want to try and entertain, you don't want to have a 10-minute long guitar solo. You also don't want to have a 7-minute long instrumental prog rock tune. Boring. We've all heard it. Anyway, just unsolicited advice. However, if anybody would care to join me on a live stream, the only thing I ask is that you be able to have good audio going into StreamYard. However you might do that is of no consequence. It's just we've got to be able to hear it into StreamYard clearly and cleanly so that we can speak. And what will happen is I will play over a backing track, and we can discuss what I was thinking while I was playing that, and where my mind was at, and maybe the names of the modes that I was using. And then you'll play over the same exact backing track and play a solo, and we'll discuss what your thought process was in improvising over that. In doing that, what we can do is we can actually go to the actual live stream while we're going live and re-listen to little bits and pieces of it. We'll have that at our disposal. Bill, you have no idea. So there's that offer. Now I realize my channel is really dinky. So if you want a bunch of people watching you play guitar live on the internet, go find Rick Beato to let you be on his live stream or something like that. Or Richard does get a lot more viewers than I do. People enjoy his programming better than they enjoy mine. I'm a little too serious, I think. Yeah. And Bill, so if you'd like to do that, I would love to do that. And you would be a very big help in helping others learn this stuff, which I want nothing more than people to continue to learn about music and put their video games away, put their television programs away, and play this thing. And I'm going to talk because in recent years, I've gotten a bit lazy. Yeah, and Bill was in Hawaii from 77 to 87, and during that time was when I was probably had the biggest growth spurt in my guitar playing. That was when started playing in a band, and even at 14 in like 1984 or so, I had been playing some blues stuff on my guitar, having watched Bill play when I was a little kid. I mean, he went away when I was 6 years old. I ain't kidding. But between 0 and 6, I guarantee I got to see him play a few times, and it inspired me to learn. So he was deeply missed in my world. But I got to play with my uncle, and I went through a lot of growing. And when he came back, I think he was maybe a little bit shocked at what I had turned into and grown into. And by 1987, I was playing guitar in my jazz band in high school, and playing in the jazz improvisation class. So there's a little bit of my story. So if anybody would like to join me in a live stream to do it's not a competition. All it is to try and help people understand what our minds are doing when we're improvising over a backing track. So yeah, I never knew Brian very much. He and I didn't talk very often. Seems like he did a lot of music with some big people, but I don't really know. Yeah. All right, folks. I think I'm going to go ahead and there we go. We got a little glitch. Had to happen. I can't have good sound for very long with this thing, and it's got to do the glitchy thing. And I got to tell you all that I've had some help in attempting to solve the problem with this machine. And it is really sad that this machine is capable of so much and it has to fail so miserably. And the one thing, if a video glitched like that, I'd be okay with it. But yeah, I cannot have audio glitching like that. It didn't do that while I was playing, so I'm really glad about that. But the fact that that potential is there, and it's just tragic. And yeah, I'm sure you did. So maybe Mark and I later on can, or me and Justin, or maybe Preston would care to join me on a StreamYard to just do what I'm talking about. And what we've done is, we'll talk a little bit about this and the potential to have two people doing a stream. We don't get to play together, but prior to doing the live stream, what it takes is for you to record. We pick 4 pieces of music that are the same. We each play along with the same piece of music. You record that piece of music onto your computer, however you choose to do that. I'm not going to tell anybody how to do that because we're not going to, yeah, cool. Preston, I'd love to do that with you because I think you're a far better improvisationalist than you give yourself credit for. Just saying. Yeah, dude, Mark, we'll talk some more about that. I got some stuff coming, so we might be able to do something else. So we record 4 different pieces of music. You can record them, and most of them we pick are, on YouTube, they're 10 to 15 minutes long, and that's fine. Anywhere you choose to cut it, you cut it down to 2.5 minutes, and you make a nice little, 5 to 10 second fade out at the end of it, whatever you want to do, but it can't be longer than 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And we put them in a specific order so that we each play, one of us plays with this piece of music, The other one plays with the same piece of music, and we discuss what we're thinking. I think it's a wonderful way to share with people who may not know how our minds work when it comes to improvising and playing guitar solos. And it doesn't all have to be guitar solos. I mean, even today I played some of the rhythm parts with some of these songs. So I think that would be a really fun thing to do with more people. I did it with Richard, and we just had a blast doing that, and it seemed like it went over really well. We streamed it on my channel, and I'm sure if we'd streamed it on his channel, we would have had probably close to 100 people show up and listen. It would have been cool. Well, thanks, Bill. I'm happy to do it. I didn't see that. Forgive me. Yeah, it was neat. And you know what's cool, the best part of doing that, especially with what I would call youngster guitar players like Richard, he's only been playing like seriously for 2 years, if that. And, it's fun to watch him grow, but to listen to him speak about what his mind is thinking when he's playing a solo, because he doesn't have the vocabulary or the ability to go, yeah, well, I was thinking D Phrygian in this one section, then I was thinking A major in this other section, and which those are both the same mode, right? Right? No, I was thinking C sharp Phrygian, and whatever. But I was looking at A major. He doesn't know to say those things, so but it's fun to hear someone of that experience speak about using modes when they're talking about modes, but they don't even realize it. Because if you're soloing in key and you're not hitting bad notes, you're definitely using modes, and you may not know what they're called, and that's part of the putting the name with the face. You know the scale pattern, you don't know what it's called. The notes all sound good, but you don't know what to call it. Thus, maybe Bill's interest today in the Phrygian mode. That might be why he is really interested in learning that mode, because it is very far removed from what he typically sounds like. And, having said that, in growing up, what I heard a lot was, let's see. Which this chord progression right here is totally Dorian mode. But the beautiful thing about Dorian is that you can replace it with the blues scale very easily. And I was just using the blues scale, but if we do that with the Dorian mode, it becomes a little more melodic, maybe. Right? There's the Dorian, now the blues scale. Dorian. Yep. Yeah, and if you think about it, Eddie Van Halen made a living using the Dorian mode. So did Brian May. and a lot of their stuff, and even Slash. So, you know, I mean, the Dorian mode is one of the most highly abused modes of all of them. I say abused, but beautifully well used by great guitar players. Yeah, and you know, Phil just said he wrote that in the 70s. You know, when I was 4 years old, I heard that riff. I didn't even play yet, but Last Train to Vernonia. There's a beautiful little town. Man, they got flooded bad a few years back. Let's see. In the 70s, yeah. Yeah, it's nice to be able to switch. And you know, another thing that Dorian Gray, you know, another thing that a lot of and this is something that I use quite often. Well, I don't much anymore because there aren't actual blues jams that happen, or jam sessions, open jams that happen in my community here that are something that you can just walk into and sit down with people, because everybody plays with only their friends and no one else is invited. So it's kind of, people are afraid to have newness happen. Whereas growing up in a bigger city, I was always exposed to walking into an open jam or an open mic thing, and you were just constantly invited. We would invite you didn't even know this dude. Hey, come up and jam with us. And people were like, what? And I'm like, yeah, what? Come up. There's fucking 50 people sitting here watching. Just plug in and plug into that amp. Well, in blues riffs, and I'm gonna go one. I'm gonna take this one step further today. Blues progressions. Let me pull up a new window here, and I'm gonna find a blues in G, right? Blues backing track in G. Let's try a shuffle blues in G, right? Everybody knows it. Yeah. Right? Okay, we've all heard it thousands of times. Way too many times. And I'm going to try and keep this brief. Yeah, we'll do this shuffle blues in G. Okay, so let's see what this sounds like. Okay. So this is a long stretched out, and then the 4 chord, the Nashville numbering system, and then the one, right? 5, 4, 1, and then the 5, right? So every guitar player in the world does this. Everybody does that, but they forget the Mixolydian mode. So every blues guitar player, you break that out, and usually it's an E, right? Because you know, you playing a blues in G is kind of, you got to use, you know, bar chords, something, you know, if you want to do it like that. But always, and everybody always. Right? People got famous playing that crap. You're right. But one of the best things you can do if you're at a blues jam is rather than use the blues scale, use the Mixolydian mode. Yep, that's what I just did. I just said that. Don't play when you're that. Another way to practice these modes is to not use the fucking blues scale. And forgive me for being so blunt about that, but avoid it. Delete it from your playing time while you're working on these modes. Don't allow it to happen. You can bend the same notes, but don't use it. If you practice what's easy, you're not learning anything. That's been said by teachers forever. Challenge yourself. So you put on a blues backing track and don't solo it using the blues scale. Use the Mixolydian mode. Right, I just threw a little bit of blues scale in at the very end of that, but you can hear the chord progression by me using even the Mixolydian mode, which has a major third in it. Oh my God, major third in the blues? God forbid, right? It's stuff that this is stuff that back when I was in high school and my instructor was, encouraging us to play solos. We'd always immediately jump on that blues scale. Or the pentatonic scale. He didn't teach us pentatonic. I'll never teach the pentatonic scale. I teach the blues scale. That blue note is one of the greatest notes in the history of music, but it gets skipped over by a lot of people because it's so dark. But damn, that'll grab people by the throat. If you're playing a blues progression. And if you just use the pentatonic minor, you'll skip over those notes, just grab people by the neck. If anybody's paying attention, or maybe they're talking to their friend at the restaurant, it's time for a blues jam, and you lay into that augmented four, holy smokes, and grab them by the like, what? Oh, that does make sense. So again, no blues scale, but avoid the blues scale. Don't use it for a while. Take some time off of it. Take some time away from it and use modes that fit the chord progression. And even in a 12-bar blues, Mixolydian mode works great. Technically, you could use the Dorian mode too, but it's going to sound a little bit, it might sound, again, that's theory. It's theory. What sounds good to one person might sound terrible to another. Try to use everything but blues backing tracks. Well, and conversely, use blues backing tracks, but don't use the blues scale, like I just did, and learn what using other modes over your classic, typical every guitar player that sits down around the campfire goes, right? That's what they all do. Every one of them does it. I've done it. I've been that guy. And when they do that, use the Mixolydian mode. It's a wonderful scale. It's kind of hard to make that one. That one sounds a lot like a scale too a lot of times, but it's got that, it's the bluesy major scale. It's got that dominant seventh in it. And yes, they're glitching again. This is a very expensive, powerful computer. It's actually a dud. Pretty much a dud. In this case, said something cool about playing through the chords. Yeah. Helps develop melodical passages and versus scales. And yeah, and I think Preston mentioned that earlier today. Was talking about you playing melodic notes or notes that fit the chords that are happening in it. You know, and that's what, you know, the blues scale misses, or not the blues scale. Let's take it one step more menial than the blues scale is the pentatonic scale, 5 notes. You lose notes that are very harmonic and harmonically correct and melodically beautiful because you're just playing with 5 notes instead of 7. And you know, there are those few guitar players, there's a lot of them, but it's made a living playing using the blues scale, and they just did it first. And now in today's world, that little 1.2 second moment in the 10-year-old's 80 million notes in 30 seconds phrase that has the blues scale in it, it's kind of like, whoa, that was different, because before that he was using Phrygian dominant to Mixolydian to Aeolian to harmonic minor, you know. And then he throws the blues scale in. It's like, whoa, that was cool. That reminds me of 50 years ago or 10 years ago. So try to avoid the blues scale. Use other modes over shuffles. The Mixolydian's a good one. The Dorian's another good one. Phrygian doesn't work real good over that. Lydian typically doesn't. You know, when we're talking about that, if you're playing a blues in G Lydian's typically not going to sound very good. G Phrygian is not going to sound very good. G Locrian is not going to sound very good over those over those progressions. And you know, if my opinion, if you don't agree with my opinion, that is perfectly okay. It doesn't matter. My opinion is that my thoughts on stuff is with regard to the things that I've said. But I like to, you know, what's fun is if you learn to do these sorts of things and you go to the open jam where, you know, it's a blues jam, which was what most of them are. If you go to the clubs in Portland, what's that club? It's on East Burnside. It's just down near the river, kind of close to, it's not the Diamond? Blue Diamond. I think it's called the Blue Diamond, where there's always blues going on. Always. It's just blues. It's not like they have a prog rock club, right? I mean, who would be able to do that? But if I was to walk into that open jam and listen to, you know, and maybe they gave me a solo and I was the third guy to get to play a solo over the same shuffle blues progression that everybody does all the time, I know that the first 2 dudes would almost solely play the blues scale, and I would immediately open up with the Mixolydian mode to grab people by the throat because it sounds so different and it works so well. So, and that was one thing that I learned as a very young age. My guitar teacher showed me that trick, and I was like, holy smokes, it was really cool. Because I remember the first time I did it with my Uncle Steve, who was in a band with Bill Keenum. I think the look he gave me, I don't know if it was disgust or if he was going, holy shit. I don't know. But it was a moment. So we covered 4 modes today, and hopefully maybe you can go back in. If you need the modes, you can go back in the video and near the beginning we go through them and kind of step through each one. Go back and take a screenshot of those and work on practicing those. And here's another thing, and I'm gonna end on this. There we go. Yeah, I move my mouse. That's what happens. This computer can't play audio like the 12-year-old computer that was a gift. Let's see. So how to practice these. Here's how you practice them. Circle of fourths. G, C, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, C sharp, F sharp, B, E, A, and D. All right. Now that was Fred. I forgot. Let's retry. Okay, I forgot I had a keyboard plugged in and it was sitting on top of that computer because I have to plug a keyboard into it once in a while. Okay, now he should not be able to push start anymore. I think I unplugged the keyboard. He's just standing right on top of that keyboard. Again, that was a very important point, but here we go. Right, so I just played the Ionian mode in all 12 keys known in Western music. So that was a circle of fourths: G, C, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, C sharp, F sharp, B, E, A, D. Each one of those is a fourth above the last. The circle of fifths is one thing on a guitar. It's easier to learn on the circle of fourth. So you want to learn those, practice them, playing them using the circle of fourths routine. You want those patterns to get burned into your brain so that when you get called out, oh, it's a blues in E flat, you're on your E flat root right now, and you got the E flat Mixolydian mode. Right? Now, who's going to call you out playing a blues in E flat? The asshole at the campfire that has a capo. Am I wrong? Right? You go camping and some dude shows up and he goes, "Here, let's play this song." Well, if you know your circle of fourths, it doesn't matter. You can't be fooled. You know where every root note is. So there's this, and that's a real simple way of putting it, but And it does take time to get this stuff memorized. But if you go about that way, that's how I learned it. And I spent days and weeks and months and years working on that stuff. Yeah. So. I'm going to play another backing track just for the hell of it. Should be. I don't know what this one is. I've played through it before, I think. Yeah. All right. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Yeah, we can use capos. We love capos. You know, there are certain songs that you just can't play right without a capo because of the chord voices that were used. You know, like a lot of Rolling Stone stuff with the open G stuff. But, you know, cannot be fooled. So this is kind of an interesting one. This has a modal shift in minor third of A to a major third. Yeah. Anyway, I've played along with this one enough. Not a fan. All right, you guys. I'm going to head out. I want you all to have a really great day. We may see you a little later. If you missed it, Rick Beato was live today, and I'm sure he put out some very important information that millions of people will see. All right. Have a great afternoon. Peace, y'all.